The special guest is Ryan. The special guest is Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Charlie had a lot of money, and I got into a legal funding business where he and another partner were the money guys or whatever. They gave me a credit line, and I would loan money, advance money on their potential injury settlements, and I would buy medical receivables for personal injury lawsuits. And it just, looking back, I mean, maybe they were trying to use me to launder money or something. It was good for a little bit. I paid myself as the managing partner of the firm. It obviously didn't work out well. He closed down the business, tried to pull the rug out from under me. We had a lot of money on the streets. I was expected to collect that money. When I was collecting this money to pay him back, I was accused of racketeering, embezzlement, fraud, conversion, and theft. And I admitted to it. Yes, I did pay myself to collect your $2 million.
Yeah, I think it was insider trading.
When you're into something and business-wise with someone that you kind of like turn the head a little bit and you're like, God, I just got to get through this, you know what I'm saying? Charlie had more money than you know what to do with. I was with Charlie. I was with him that day, and he was in surgery. I had an office in the back of the dental office that he was doing surgery in. He freaked out, and I was like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, so-and-so just got arrested. He would call me, and it would be like a 45-minute conversation every day, repeatedly. And I was with him that day.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
How big was Charlie's steroid business?
Oh, yeah.
Business.
No, he was caught on wiretaps talking about selling steroids and selling weed.
He wasn't selling. He was just an idiot that was trying to be cool to get something for someone as a middleman and to like probably benefit himself. No, Charlie didn't sell steroids.
I do recall hearing some wiretap where he was talking about selling steroids to somebody. Yeah. No, Charlie was not selling steroids. It might have been like a conversation where like, hey, I know a guy, I can do this for you. And no, he didn't have a steroid business. That's ridiculous. But no, I just told the truth. So I wasn't worried at all. They know what I did. They know who I am. I sent him a picture of my driver's license. I said, around, find out. I was like, come get some. No, I wasn't worried. I can understand that question, but no, I wasn't worried. No, I'm not worried. Good question, I guess. I don't know. No, I'm not worried at all. I don't know. It's like June said, it was like a fairy tale. What's that?
Oh, he was banging on my door.
Huh? Oh, jeez. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
No, I wasn't worried about those idiots.
Okay.
But don't be sorry for me. It's it's trying to do the good work.
I just wanted my steroids.
What?
Yeah. A lot. And he blew it.
Mm-hmm.
Please go outside.
Okay. Okay, sure.
Illegitimate allegations that
back in 2016, when people got arrested, not many people in South Florida knew it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he also spoke. Both of them spoke on maybe he would show up. Okay, how did Charlie make his money? Do you believe a person can get a?
Please go outside.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, jeez. Huh? Okay, well, we'll try to wrap it up quickly then. Okay, that was random. Okay.
You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record.
All right. Happy Thursday, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Had some really varied and interesting comments about yesterday's episode, which was all about June Umchata. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing her name. Charlie's girlfriend, who has testified in the 3 trials in this case. Of course, the case I'm talking about is the murder of Dan Markel. And I played some of her testimony from Charlie's trial, where he is clearly, from my view, manipulating her and trying to remind her from the defense table that they were once in love and that maybe he still has feelings for her, and to go easy on him. And I also played her police interview, some of it, where she said he was the perfect man, except for the fact that they say he was a murderer. So it's interesting. She goes into the past tense. And he was perfect except for that. She's very jealous of Bree for having it all, getting the baby and the house and the car with him for a little while. And this is, of course, her police interview from 2018. But it was very useful interview at the time. She talked about the stapled money. She talked about a real change in attitude in Charlie after Katie was arrested. He was always nervous that he had clothes next to the bed should he be arrested. Very interesting. She made it sound like almost like a to-go bag for jail, like a pregnant woman. So very different reactions to that. So let's get into some of your comments. First one from Marival 1034. I feel you're exaggerating. Yes, Donna would live in Vietnam over prison. Yes. Yes, what is wrong with liking money? Broke people do the same with less money. Many good points are made. Some are just exaggerated. Stick to what counts. They are guilty. Very sad. Dan deserved to live. They had it all. Now they are living the consequences. Many lives ruined. Their own lives destroyed. The kids and Dan most of all. And of course, the Markel family, and then all the Ruth Markel, Phil Markel, Shelley Markel. And then, of course, there's all the friends who loved Dan Markel. And then there's all his students. He was an important part of the community and a beloved person. So, a little confused as to my point about Donna fleeing to Vietnam is that there was nothing stopping her from fleeing, getting the whole family to flee with her. Wendy, the kids, if she was so invested in her family, and if the reason was so much, so more than anything else, that Donna wanted these kids near her in Florida, she certainly didn't care about never seeing them again and saving herself. That came before any feelings she had of wanting to be close to her grandkids. That was my point. I'm not sure what your point is exactly. And with liking money, my point about the Adelson family is that there's nothing wrong with liking money, but that there's no other values. It's a kind of really intense focus on money, getting revenge, getting over their status, loyalty, contributing to society, loving other people, those kind of things. The other values that what I thought we all agreed on were the important values in society, don't matter so much to the Adelson family, and that was my point. And I don't know how I would exaggerate any of that. That's how I feel. I think perhaps we're in disagreement, but I'm not exactly sure what your point is. Curbonite says, I enjoy Roberta's take and voice. Thank you. And I've gotten way too close to this case because I'm a dental professional and have an overbearing mother. I'm sorry to hear that. I think a lot of people who follow this case have a narcissistic parent, or maybe even a antisocial personality parent or person in their family, or have been married to someone like that. I know everyone likes to make fun of Charlie and Wendy, and they are surely guilty, but Donna is the real problem in this family. Donna should have been the first locked up and the longest sentence. Despite what you think about Charlie, I don't think he would have thought up this without Donna. Yeah, he's a womanizer and has a learning disability. That makes you a jerk, but it's not illegal. Great point. Those are all true. My simple point is Donna completely shaped Charlie and Wendy's thoughts. The older brother broke away, and now it seems like Wendy is seeing some light. So I guess my response to this would be, we still don't know much about nature or nurture, but Rob, the oldest son, who you mentioned in this comment, said he always felt this need to do the right thing, and he felt that Charlie didn't have that in him. So Rob feels that Charlie was maybe born like that. That was my interpretation of that comment. Wendy, hard to know, and I've asked that before. Is this nature nurture? Was an antisocial personality here in Wendy made or born? Because it's pretty extreme to conspire to have your ex-husband murdered because he threatens your law license, your mother's visits with the grandchildren. She would have had to, perhaps, if the court agreed, Donna would have had to have supervised visits with her grandchildren, Wendy's children, excuse me. And we know, of course, that Wendy would have been stuck in Tallahassee. But it's one thing to not only conspire to murder your ex, but to set up what was your current boyfriend up to a week ago as the patsy and be perfectly okay with him. Taking the blame for something you yourself did is a whole nother level. So I got the same kind of comments saying Wendy did it all. It's not Donna. So I think we're going to have to wait and see what other kinds of evidence comes out. Where did this originate? Certainly the emails from Donna are very damning to Wendy. And she certainly seems to have Wendy's ear and be telling her to really keep this war going and totally decimate until Dan Markell is totally decimated. That's what it sounded like to my ear. Last comment from SLCELENI 8876. The way that June is being dragged through the mud is such a turnoff. So because she's beautiful and loved Charlie, it's okay to make fun of her. Making fun of her boobs, drawing conclusions as to what's important to her in her life. Lots of jealousy going on. Why do people think it's okay to make fun of attractive people? The snark is too much here. Unsubscribed. Well, my point was about June is I thought her values from her own language, using her own words, were way out of whack. I don't know too many people who would say, besides being a murderer, he's perfect. Usually, being a murderer, it strikes you off the list for being a perfect husband or father. And the fact that she can't see that, I thought was rather disturbing. Yeah, I do think her values are off. And when you're looking at a bunch of pictures of someone, and the next picture, she has ginormous breasts. And Katie was gifted, the middle woman was gifted a pair of breasts. It becomes relevant. Where did these breasts come from? Was this a gift from Charlie? And I don't think it was, because had it been, we certainly would have heard about it in court. You would have thought, right? That he had a pattern of giving gifts to his girlfriends or ex-girlfriends. And also another reason I think why people are not so enthusiastic about June, and maybe it's all because we're so jealous. We're so jealous because she's so good looking. I think it's that she didn't testify truthfully. She didn't show much respect to the court. She showed up late. Her phone went off. She got lost. And then she was confronted with statements she made, and she minimized them, with Charlie looking on, making goo-goo faces. So many of us, including myself, were concerned that she was being manipulated by the defendant and was still loyal to him, even though there is a murder. This is a murder trial, very serious. What was more important to her was keeping her relationship with Charlie. I understand in the Adelson family, I understand that it is very tricky to testify against someone you still care about. But she knew they already had her statements. So today I wanted to talk about and look at the CourtTV has a new expert who's a public defender, and he was asked to they were looking at Wendi Adelson's police interview together. And boy, is he the anti-Janine driver, meaning the anti-body language expert. He found her behavior very concerning and her language very concerning. And the beginning is a review of her police interview. So I skipped a little bit past it and just went to the end to give you a little idea as to what they were talking about.
I'm still her hair. I must look awesome right now, but when I'm not in crisis, I'd really like my parents to be here and help me with the kids.
And so for my information, what are your parents' names?
I feel like I should be the one to tell them.
No, I don't want, I'm not going to go tell them. I'm just more of, as
Who's
you know, this time goes on, right, when you're referring to people, I want to know.
Sure. My parents' names are Donna and Harvey Adelson.
And did you say they were in Florida?
They are. They're splitting. They're sort of in the process of retiring.
Okay.
I mean, semi. So they work together. They're super happy and in love. 40 plus years in. So they like live in Coral Springs for part of the week and then in Miami for part of the week. So today is Friday and they're in Miami.
Okay, so is Miami like their weekend home then for them?
My brother Charlie got this place for them to sort of have them try living in Miami. So sometimes on the weekends they all hang out together. So they'll be there.
Naming them all: Charlie, Donna, Harvey, and Wendy, and Philip. Oh no, Philip is going to join us right now. He's Philip Dubé. He's in Los Angeles. What do you think of this interview here? Is, you know, we know so much more now, obviously, but when you watch her, anything stand out to you?
That she's a phony and a liar, okay? I'm not buying one word, not one tear from that girl. Sorry, I said it, okay? The worst piece of evidence against her, Ted, and I don't know if viewers agree or even the other anchors, remember what she did. She befriended Jeff Lacoste. I think it was on a dating website. And ironically, it looked like she was trying to find somebody who drove a car that matched that Prius that Luis and Sigfredo drove from Miami to Tallahassee twice. Because what it looks like she was doing, first of all, is sending her.
So this is very interesting that he thinks Dubai thinks that this defense lawyer who is speaking on Court TV thinks the most damning piece of evidence against Wendy is not that she drove by the crime scene, is that she set up Jeffrey Lacoste, and he's assuming that it sounds backwards to me, right? Not that she knew Jeffrey Lacoste drove this car. She was looking for a guy who drove a Prius. I think it was done the other way. And in a second, I can play a video from Murder by Maestro's channel where he explains it a little bit more, how every car that was rented matched Jeffrey Lacoste's car. So I think it's the other way around.
New boyfriend out from Miami all the way to Tallahassee on some type of an alcohol run or some type of an errand, ironically right in the neighborhood where Dan lives, and ironically in a car that matches that Prius rental that Sigfredo and Luis were driving, almost as if she was trying to set up the perfect defense for her and the family, that the new boyfriend did it for Wendy, so that they could have a life together and get him out of the picture. I find it devious, I find it sinister, and frankly, it is an overt act in furtherance of a conspiracy to kill. If that is the prosecution's theory of culpability, should they file murder charges against her or conspiracy charges?
And that's, you know, she has not been charged with anything. She's been interviewed,
Right.
and she's
Correct.
been a lot of speculation around her role in all of this. And the big question is if she's saying that, well, Charlie and mom and dad, and dad hasn't been charged either, they just killed Dan as a favor because they love me, but they didn't tell me. That doesn't pass the smell test, does it?
No, because first of all, remember, she gave up her brother to the police. You know, remember she talked about how, buying a new TV is cheaper than hiring a hitman, this type of stuff. So obviously she had it in the back of her.
So of course Donna's going to say, and Charlie's going to say, that's just an old bad joke. old joke that's been bantered around for decades after decades. Who hasn't told a joke like that? It may not be about a TV, but I bought this because it was cheaper than hiring a hitman. If you've heard the wiretaps, you've heard Donna say, right? It was a joke. It was a joke, a stupid joke, an old joke. This jury, they weren't listening. They weren't listening, right? So try to. I think the defense will have the same argument that the joke meant nothing, and I think it's easy for people to relate and say, well, gee, what if I told some joke and it had really bad timing? It was a really bad coincidence that someone did happen to get murdered. Not just murdered, but murdered by hire.
Her head, that the whole subject was even broached, that the whole subject was even raised. And instead of saying, get that idea out of your head, knock that off, please. We go through a peaceful process. We go through a legal process when we have a problem within the family or with ex-spouses. But no, instead it's almost as if she turned a blind eye to everything and then sent this new boyfriend on an odyssey to Tallahassee, ironically in a car that matched the rental driven by the two shooters. I just find it a little too coincidental, frankly. Now, I could be wrong, frankly. And I'd have to hear what else they would have in order to convict her with evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. But from where I'm sitting, Ted, she's the only one with the motive.
Right.
Why else? Why? Who else? Remember, she was in nasty custody litigation with the courts and with her ex. She wanted to live in Miami near her folks and wanted to be completely away from him. Nobody else would have a motive to do this. And she's the one with the legal mind and would know what quantum of proof would be necessary to pull it off and to raise reasonable doubt as to herself. I'm sorry, I don't trust her.
Yeah, well, the other little part that of the equation does make sense. She's in the neighborhood, sees police activity outside of her ex-husband's home, and doesn't do a thing. And he's got custody of the kids that day. Luckily, they're at daycare. But really, you're not going to go running up there and saying, what's going on?
Yeah, and not only...
I mean, did they not hear that that Wendy thought it was a tree had fallen, and trees fell all the time? They didn't have police cars and crime scene tape, but it was close enough. I mean, it's absurd. But if you listen to Charlie's phone calls, it seems obvious to me that Charlie and Donna are talking about how Wendy ruined it all for them by going rogue from the plan and driving by the crime scene, going rogue from the plan and buying bullet bourbon. And how else do you complain about that on a recorded line? But what are the chances? Georgia Kappelman was dumbing down coincidences, which I think what Charlie meant was you can't dumb down a coincidence. It's a coincidence. That's the way it is. You can't make it more sophisticated or dumb it down in any way, or make it or simplify it in any way. But I think what he meant was saying that Georgia Kappelman and the state's attorney's office built their case around coincidences and then sold the story in a very simplified way to the jury. And it worked because it made sense. And your story, Charlie, made zero sense. It made sense if we lived in a world where the Latin kings were known for their great investment strategies and their unorthodox way of doing things, like killing someone on spec and then demanding money from someone who drives a Ferrari and has a lot of flashy stuff. They weren't interested in any of that flashy stuff. Just $3,000 a month was good for them because they were interested in steady, regular income every month. It's their future. You know, everybody knows that the Latin Kings are future oriented.
Only that, if you remember, Ted, the area where Dan lived was just sort of like very deep in a densely sort of populated residential area, as opposed to just an industrial area or a mixed use area of commercial and residential properties. She would have no business even being in there unless she was on her way to that house or to an old neighbor. You know, it'd be one thing if she was off to a commercial area to pick up something, I don't know, some item for a party or whatever thing that they were going to host. But no, she found herself deeply embedded in that residential enclave where he happened to live. And she would have absolutely no plausible explanation for being there. The only thing I could think of is if there's evidence that there was a detour on the major highway because of construction or a roadblock, and she had to turn in that way to get into the residential neighborhood. But otherwise, she had no business being there.
Yeah, and okay, she is there. She has,
yeah.
There's been no way you wouldn't go investigate if that house is crawling with cops.
The house was crawling with cops, but did you not hear that Wendy needed to come to terms with a divorce? Are you not taking into consideration her emotional needs? She had to come to terms with a divorce from a man, by all accounts. She said he meant well, but a lot of people didn't like him, sounding like, including herself. She said herself she was never in love with him, but she needed to come to terms with a divorce by driving by his house. I don't know. I don't know about these court and TV experts. Can't they see how that's extremely not sus of Wendy to do?
Pops would be like, what is going on? You'd be like, oh, I hope Dan's in trouble so that I can keep the kids and we can move to Miami. No, she ignores it and drives away. Let's get a break. We'll get back to more of Wendy as she asked, please, how did they find her? Well, I was out to lunch with my friends all day. You guys were able to track me down. That's interesting. That's next.
We are moving closer to trial.
Against him.
Will her husband...
It's the doomsday.
Welcome back to CourtTV Live. This morning we're watching this tape, this video of the ex-wife of Dan Markel, Wendi Adelson. She was interviewed in 2014, just hours after Dan was shot, and she's there and she's a lawyer. She talks to them for 5 hours plus, and part of the deal is here she's trying to make arrangements to get the kids picked up. They're trying to make sure that the kids are fine, but 5 hours. We're going to pick it up right where we left off.
And like I said, I'm not going to notify your parents or do anything like that. I was just, like I said, getting that more of just so
for future, yeah.
And do you have anyone in Tallahassee that you consider your go-to person here?
I have a lot of, I'm not saying this to be braggy, I have like a number of people that I have a good network. I do. The person who feels most like family is my friend, Lynn.
Lynn? Okay.
She's just a bit older than me, and I'm very close to their family. She's 4 kids, and I kind of like an aunt to the twin girls. I'd really love for Lynn to be around.
Okay. What's Lynn's last
name? Grossman.
S-S-M-A-N?
Yeah.
Okay, she's here locally.
She is, yeah. She lives right down, really close to me.
What are your 2 boys' names? I know.
My older son is turning 5 on the 29th. His name's Benjamin.
I just, it's about 10:04, so I know we're gonna need to start making arrangements as far as if he wants to maybe pick your kids up and take them home, that type of thing. So Sarah can, if you wanna figure that out, just because I think he said that they had to be picked up by about 5 or so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So something to just think about what we want to get on.
What should we do about that?
What do you think would be? Do you have any? Because you probably have. They're younger, right? So probably
They're 3.5 and 5.
So they probably started
in car seats.
Okay.
They're in car seats. I am in shock right now, so I could probably be functional to like drive a car.
Well, I can help with kind of that type of stuff. Do you have a friend? Do you want?
I mean, I would. If Lynn is here, I don't know if she's in town. It's Friday.
Yes.
I don't know if she's in town this weekend. If she is, I would love for her to be with
Lynn
me.
would be your person. Okay.
Yeah.
And then if Lynn's not, do you have a kind of backup person you would think?
I do. I have a lot of friends who have kids, so they have their own responsibilities. My friend Jane, who actually I think used to be a victim advocate.
Okay.
Jane would be a really good choice. Jane McPherson.
You probably, and I might be able to get these numbers, but
Because she doesn't have kids, it's all on my phone.
I know, it's okay. I know, I don't have anything memorized either. So.
Other close friends that I would have be with me right now. I have this really close friend whose husband died last year, who has a kid, and we spend a lot of time together, so she'd understand, but I don't want to do that to her.
Okay. Well, and I think maybe between Lynn and Jane,
hopefully one of them.
Okay.
Oh, Jane might be traveling. It's just somewhere people are traveling all the time.
I understand.
Who else might be here?
What do you think? Lynn and Jane would be kind of a good start?
Yeah.
What I'm gonna do,
just let's take a little break. Of course, she's manipulating the victim's advocate. Hold on one second. I just had to move my cat. She's manipulating the victim's advocate, doing a very good job of making herself the victim here. But I wanted to show you Jane McPherson's social media, which I thought was interesting. And while I was at it, we can go full stalkerish, I guess. I'm not sure if I can. Sarah, the victim's advocate, has moved up in the world. So it reads disaster recovery, mental health coordinator. And this is from May 2022. This year, Florida First Lady Casey DeSantis and the Florida Division of Emergency Management announced the appointment of Sarah Latour Newhouse. And this is, of course, from the FSU College of Social Work. She has an MSW from 2011, I assume in social work, as the State Disaster Recovery Mental Health Coordinator. So she's moved on from the police department and she's doing bigger things. So she says, here she's quoted as saying, the State Disaster Recovery Mental Health Coordinator plays a vital role in the disaster process by ensuring help is available to survivors and first responders, says Kevin Guthrie. So that's an idea of what she's up to, what she looks like now. Just thought it was interesting. I would love to interview her. I'm sure that's something that she'll never do, but I'd be very interested in how she sees her time with Wendi Adelson now, what she felt while she was working with her as an advocate, and if she would do anything differently now. Those are some questions that come to mind. I'm going to take a quickie break. When we get back from the break, more of Wendi Adelson getting absolutely put in the crosshairs by a defense attorney on CourtTV, calls her a liar and a phony, and is very confused as to why she has not been indicted. I'll meet you on the other side of the break. If you are enjoying this episode of my True Crime Report, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share this episode. Get access to exclusive podcasts and other bonus content by becoming a patron today. If you have a question or comment for me, shoot me a super chat and I'll do my best to answer it and read it on air. Thanks so much. Now back to the show. Okay, so after watching Janine Driver just have the weirdest take I've ever seen on Wendi Adelson, she's like, her palms are up. She's honest. I think the family did all this without her knowing. So I that just was such a, gave me, and I think a lot of the people in my audience, an odd feeling like, is this woman on the Adelson payroll? Which would make sense if you're Wendi Adelson and you don't want to be indicted, and you know that public pressure has a lot to do whether someone gets indicted or not. You might hire someone like Janine Driver or a lawyer to say that she's totally innocent and not a part of this, and try to get the public to support, at least a portion of the public to support Wendi Adelson. But Janine Driver saying she worked for the CIA and the FBI, her own resume does not reflect that. What it looks like is from her resume is that she worked for the alcohol, tobacco, firearms department for years and years. And then when the Brady bill passed, she gave talks to the FBI for about, looked like a year, if I'm remembering her resume correctly.
I'm going to go check and see how long on your phone, so that way we can kind of start working on those things.
Okay.
Some things for you to think about when you meet your boys. And I'm sorry, it's really hard.
I just don't know how I'm going to tell them that.
Well, you know your boys better than anyone else does, right?
Right now, they were expecting, I don't know if Danny told them or not, the plan was he was going to take them swimming this afternoon, which is sort of out of the ordinary.
Okay.
Normally, I just pick him up, but I think he's leaving town for the weekend. I just think he wanted extra time with the kids. So he was going to take them to Truesdale and bring them to my house. So sometimes plans change. Like sometimes his flights are delayed from New York, and the kids say, I thought, they call him Abba, which means father in Hebrew. They say, I thought this was an Abba day. What are you doing here? And I'd say, well, Abba's flight was late, so it's going to be a mommy day for a little while. So if there was a plan they were expecting, it would have been the go to the pool plan, but they knew that it was time to be with me. So
they knew they were going to transition into
so normal for them would have been mommy all weekend, mommy all week, and then Wednesday Abba. What you were saying. So for them, this is what they expect. Is I think for me to come pick them up, it's very normal.
Okay.
I don't know if I can drive my car right now.
And that's why we're going to try to contact with some friends, kind of try to work out what options we can to help you so you might not have to do that, okay?
Okay.
So let me go check on your phone.
Okay.
And then I'll come back and kind of let you know and see if maybe how long that'll take or see if I can find some phone numbers in that.
My two friends that I was with for lunch when they came and found me, how did they find where I was?
I have no idea.
I mean, did they just search for my car? Like, I am just amazed. I was eating with two girlfriends. They're both psychiatrists.
Okay.
So they'd probably be good people to talk to.
Okay.
One of them is a child psychiatrist, so I just
So
feel
she
like
might be a good person to talk to, especially about
how to talk to the boys.
Okay. I'm gonna do like that.
I'm fine. As far as a baby, so I'm fine.
Do you know where Lynn or Jean work? Because we're going to try to find some phone numbers for them, right? Some work numbers. If they work at.
So Jane is a PhD student. She's working from home.
Okay.
Lynn works. I'm kind of forgetting what the name of the place is that she works. But she does like Holocaust recovery stuff. Department of Financial Services.
Isn't that ironic that Wendy's friend does Holocaust recovery stuff when Wendy didn't return the Holocaust diamond to Dan Markel's friend, family? I mean, isn't it odd to have a friend involved in that kind of work? But it sure makes her look like she has caring, connecting friends. It's the same kind of thing with her work with trafficked women. I always wonder how much of their body language, their speech she picked up on and mirrored.
Says maybe it's not DBPR, it might be DFS, but her husband.
She works for the state though.
Her husband and I are close to, like, friends with the family. Her husband's name is Alan Grossman, Allen. And he has his own law firm in town, so he should be really easy to find.
Okay,
It's like Grossman, Furlow and Bio, maybe.
Do you know what street it's off of by chance? Probably down. Okay, that's good.
You can find him and find that number, and he's usually at work. I'm trying to think. All of my really, really close friends live out of town. But yeah.
Okay. And go. I'm gonna try to do just some Google stuff real quick, and then I'll come back. Okay.
God, we really should start memorizing more phone numbers. I used to know. Them.
It's just technology that makes it easier for us.
I'm going crazy in this white room.
I'm sorry. I know it's not
like pictures from
No.
I just feel like I'm in a Twilight Zone, and I keep picturing the kids like at a funeral having to say goodbye to their dad, and I just can't believe I have to do this to them.
Do you
That is the weirdest thing. Did you guys all hear that? She can't believe she has to do this to them. What odd language. I can't believe they have. I pointed this out before, but every time I hear it, it makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. What is she talking about? I hate that they have to go through this. I'm dreading telling them. But she's saying, I hate that I did this. I have to do, right? Did she not just say that? Very weird.
Do you want me, when I find their numbers, is it okay if I call your friends?
Yeah,
okay,
it's fine.
And I can go and tell them
I
that
could really use some help taking care of the boys tonight.
Of course.
I'm trying to think of who else I would call. My closest friend in town is on vacation right now with her family.
Well, we'll start with Lynn and see kind of where we get from there since she... Okay.
So that sounds like she didn't hire a babysitter. She says she's asking for help to take care of the boys, but didn't she plan on going to this Stock the Bar party that night? So where were the kids going to go? Were they going to go with Dan swimming and then to her? I was so confused about that swimming thing. And then if that were so, why would she be angry about it? If anyone could clarify that, or is it just one of those things that makes no sense because she didn't have any real plans after having lunch with her friends and showing this Stock the Bar party invite. But I encourage you to go look at Deep Dive True Crimes. What he showed on the screen looks very odd. So I've said, and I'll say it again, it could be only one of two things in my mind. Either it is a fabrication by either someone close to Wendy to make the Bullet Bourbon purchase look more normal, or Wendy herself or someone in Wendy's family. Or the other thing is it was done by someone who wanted to get a lot of clicks and is following this case. I have no idea, but it just doesn't look, it looks very odd to be asking for Bullet Bourbon or some other kind of spirit. It looks maybe like it was part of the design of the invite, not Wendy. And I had heard the original had writing on it. I didn't see writing on it on the version that Mentor Lawyer showed. I think that's what he calls himself.
Hey, Wendy. Another kind of question we have. Do you want, if we get in touch with one of your friends, you think it's best if maybe they picked up the kids first? Or
just because it's 4:15 now, I didn't know time-wise what we'd be looking at.
I just don't want to bring them. I was about to say I don't want to traumatize them, but they're about to get plumbing traumatized.
And they can take them home.
Right. I just don't know what would be less upsetting for the boys.
That's up to you.
What I would most like.
Or we can make arrangements with the school and just say, look, it's going to be a little late. You need to work with us, and mom and a friend will come.
I think they do keep it open till like 5:30 or so. So what I would most like would be to pick them up myself and have someone with me in case I don't feel like I can drive well.
That's fine. And Lynn would be your first option to come here.
Lynn would be my first choice, or Alan, her husband.
Okay. And you're okay with me speaking with them and telling them to come here?
Yeah.
First, and
my car is.
We have the cars here.
Oh, they got it here.
I think they were bringing it here, and I think.
Did they take my keys? How did they get the car here?
I don't know.
I guess you guys.
Well, I may be wrong. I thought that. Investigator Isom, it may still be at the other place, was going to touch base. Oh, okay. I may not. I may be wrong. Was going to touch base with you about, because I know he's done a bunch of different stuff as far as doing your hands and all that stuff. To see if you'd be willing to let us look in your car to see if there's anything. You know. Okay.
Search the car.
And so he'll have another.
Search the car, I have receipts, I'm all prepared, search my phone. I don't care when I get that laptop back. I'm not going to want to be doing any work on it. That is such an unusual attitude, just the laptop, not caring about when it gets back. Most people are furious because we're attached to our laptops and our phones. But I just saw a comment I wanted to address really quickly, which was here from Norse Wisdom. Roberta, I heard there was really a Stock the Bar party invite. And that invite so there really was a Stock the Bar party. Invite might be real. So what I was asking was, if she was going to that party, did she make plans to have a babysitter look after the kids? Or was that the time where Dan was going to take the kids swimming? Might be a little late, but maybe not. And just for me, I think it isn't too important in the big picture. No, absolutely not. I think you're right there. My point is that there could be a Stock the Bar invite, but I'm not convinced that that's it. That's my point. I hope everybody understands. It looks really odd. Really, really odd. All right, back to Court TV and their absolute, very critical take on Wendy's police interview.
Form for you.
That's fine.
Okay, so I will call them, and the question is, I will not tell them what's going on until they get here.
I would tell them.
Okay, I just didn't know them driving. Are they good friends with him as well?
They've been mutual friends, but they're more my friends.
Okay.
I mean, I think everyone's gonna be devastated.
Sure. And maybe I'll just say that you're up here, you're fine, but they need to come pick you up, and then we can do that here, you know?
I mean, I think you can tell them Wendy needs help picking up the boys because of what's happened. Like, I think you can tell them why I need them.
That's fine.
And that's fine.
And she said she's fine with the van, search of the van and stuff when, you know, because we were talking about that. But, all right, I will take care of this, Wendy.
Thank you.
All right, still ahead, Wendi Adelson keeps saying that she understands why police might think she's a suspect. More of interview coming up. Stay with us.
We are moving closer to trial in the case against.
Now, will her husband...
It's the dude.
2014, Florida dad Markel dropped his sons off at daycare. Then, moments later, he was shot in the head in his driveway. It all happened while Markel and his ex-wife Wendy were in a bitter custody battle. After the shooting, Wendy was picked up by police and taken in for questioning. We're watching that right now. Let's pick it up right where we left off.
We got an alternative for the kids.
What's the alternative?
Right now, Joanna's calling one of her friends that she gave us and trying to see if they can have the friend come here, and then they can go together and pick up the children. That way she'll have the support system.
Right, absolutely. The receipt you just rolled up, what was that for?
That was lunch. I was trying to find the receipt from the bourbon, but I may have put it with the bourbon. This is from yesterday. It's lunch. And these are old ones. I was looking for the bourbon, but I must have put it in the bag with the bourbon that I kept in the car.
Can I hold on to this one for Mosaic?
Sure.
Do you need it to balance your booking?
No, sir, that's fine.
What's this?
I just didn't want you to think I was crumbling up other receipts.
No, it wasn't for that. I just was thinking before.
No, I just thought I would find the bourbon one.
Yeah.
But I must have put it in the bag.
Just looking at the dates.
I eat a lot. I lost the key to my house, so I went to buy many spare keys to give to friends around town so I don't get locked out of my house again.
Okay. So
that's what that is. Just my many spare keys that are now around Tallahassee, which now makes me nervous.
Okay. I know the receipt that I might be interested in is the gas receipt.
Yeah. Oh, I asked for no receipt, so I can give you my charge card information, but
if I need it later on.
I didn't get a receipt.
That's all right.
Okay.
But you bought the bourbon over there sometime afternoon and then went to, okay. All right.
It should be, the bourbon's in the car,
Okay.
so it should be in there.
Okay. I'll get started.
She really is doing a good job of looking like someone who's totally open. Here are my receipts. Take my car. Take my cell phone. Take my laptop. I get a little, I don't know. Maybe my feathers get ruffled a little bit. I mean, these are when people criticize the detective, Craig Isom. He's a detective. He obviously he got very concerned about the fact that Wendy drove by the crime scene, but that alone, combined with her really good imitation of someone not involved, got her at least to walking out the door for the night. They're still putting together the cases so early on. They're not psychic.
Are you bringing the car here?
Yes, I think it's already here.
How did they bring it here without
Tow truck.
keys?
Tow truck. Yeah.
Okay.
We're trying to be as efficient as possible. All right, so we're working on the
Yep, Joan is trying to make contact now with some friends.
okay, and then they'll come here hopefully.
Okay. Hopefully, as long as she can get.
Do you think I need to? I had like a whole weekend of plans ahead with the kids and stuff. Like, should I start contacting people and let them know that like I can't? What's a good idea? I just like I can't show up for like play dates right now. So
sure, yeah.
I don't know. Like, do you want me not to tell people what's going on? Is this like?
Isn't it interesting? She says that I can't show up. Meaning like I can't be, what I got from it was I can't be seen having a good time. I saw how that went for Casey Anthony. That's not going to look good if I show up. Will you tell me that I have to cancel these events? And the police and Craig and Sarah, meaning the detective and the victim's advocate, are like, we can't tell you what to do. Most people emotionally are too much of a wreck. But but she didn't say that's not why she can't go. She's just like, I can't be seen at those places. Should I cancel? But she's very comfortable saying, I'm going crazy in this white room. I'm in crisis. It's just interesting that she doesn't give any of those emotional reasons as to why she wants to cancel attending the things that she has planned. It's a little vague. She can't be seen or she can't show up. Excuse me. She doesn't want to show up at these things.
Well,
I got that call from Lisa Perry. So like, how did she find out?
Well, she said she saw something in Everett or heard something.
She said she heard there was a shooting on Trescott. I thought because she's a real estate agent, maybe she was rolling around and she saw Trescott. But how did, like, is it on the news? Like,
well, I can tell you that there was news media out there with cameras, but I don't know if anything has been reported as to the specific address.
Okay.
I don't know what our public information office has released.
I'm asking for you, like.
Okay.
I don't want to like make this.
She wants to know what she can tell people or what she can't right now.
Which, in terms of making things better or worse for you.
I would say that for right now, I would not.
Can I have some guidance? Because if I slip up and say something inappropriate, I'd like to have the excuse that the police or the victim's advocate told me to do it before it becomes another piece of evidence against me. I've already driven by the crime scene, had to do a 3-point turn at the crime scene tape directly across Dan's mailbox. I just like some things that I could say so that I'm acting appropriately. Do you have some advice for me? And look how in control she is. I mean, if you had to guess just by everything, just by the audio alone, those listening on podcast, shout out to you. Wouldn't you say Wendy's the one in control? She's the one pushing it forward, asking the questions. And I believe when she said, I'm going crazy in this white room, what she meant was, how much longer do I have to be here? She cannot wait to get out of there. The trick is to get out of there. She knows she's never coming back, never answering another question without being handcuffed and charged. That's the goal. And we've seen other people who are really guilty looking do it. Look at Chris Watts.
Not deny to anybody that something did happen, but
if I'm going to call and cancel all night, like I'm supposed to be at a party tonight, like
Okay, I can't. Basically, I can't go. There's been an incident.
So I
that's
can
happened
just
in
tell people I'm just not going to be able to be there. I'll talk to you later, and that's it. Okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want you. I don't want you not to have a support network of friends.
Yeah.
And
well, I will tell who needs to know, but like I also, I don't.
You want to explain this to 1,000 people.
Well, it's not about, it's yes, but I don't think that's good for the kids. Like, I don't want people, I don't know what to do about, like, the kids are really young. I don't know what to do in terms of that reaction, but I also am kind of scared that there's like some maniac out there, and I would like for you to find whoever that is. So I don't want to make things worse in some way in terms of you being able to find someone.
Okay.
That's all I'm asking.
Just I would just only tell the people that need to know that are closest to you for your benefit. And anyone else, if they inquire, just you can tell them any excuse you want. You can say the police have asked me not to discuss it.
Okay.
It's as simple as that.
I'll throw you under the bus.
Okay, I'm used to that.
Okay. That's it. I swear I'm just blowing my nose.
You're all right.
Sarah, your job is very hard.
It is.
You have a very nice personality for it. Very calming.
Thank you for saying that. That's kind of how I sell myself sometimes on doing this.
It's really hard. Do you know Gwen?
Gwen Williams?
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I think we did a presentation at a Red Cross human trafficking.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Because
It's Salvation Army?
Yes.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, I thought so. Because when they were kind of telling me, you know, who I was going to be talking with, I was like, that sounds familiar.
Then I had the boys there that morning, and that's why I like talked.
And I remembered you talking about your boys actually too.
Well, it's good to see you again.
Sorry, under these circumstances.
I feel like I'm in the middle of a nightmare.
This isn't something that anyone plans on going through or wants to go through.
We were divorced. It wasn't good, but like...
I think she's being truthful when she says it's a nightmare. I think it must have been really, really stressful to answer those questions and worry. And you see that the first thing she says is, I understand why I would be a suspect in this case. So I'm going to take another really quickie break. If you guys have questions, put them up in the chat just in a way that I can see them. Maybe put a cat emoji or question mark emoji, however you want to do it. But when I get back, we're going to talk about murder for hire cases and how this one is a little different. Don't go anywhere. Meet you on the other side of the break. If you are enjoying this episode of my True Crime Report, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share this episode. Get access to exclusive podcasts and other bonus content by becoming a patron today. If you have a question or comment for me, shoot me a super chat and I'll do my best to answer it and read it on air. Thanks so much. Now back to the show. All right. One of the ways this is very, very different than other murder for hire cases is that it's taking so long to try everyone involved. Years and years and years. I mean, we're almost looking at a decade. And I feel so sad for the Markel family having to go through this because there really is no closure. And I've heard Ruth Markel say that there is really no closure for victims' families. It's really like a life sentence of grief is the best way to put it. But at least the trial part, which is so stressful, so intense, is over. And there is some sense of order and you get a little bit of a sense of justice. And I don't think there's a lot of people saying that the state got it wrong or they're confused. I know there are some people who say that Luis Rivera is really the shooter, but that's really, I would say that would be few and far between of the people that follow this case. But what's interesting about the Robert Marshall case, which is another murder for hire case, is that Robert Marshall, who was married to Maria Marshall, and he was in terrible financial shape. He was also having an affair. Is this a question? I'm not sure if this is a question. We're still on the stock the bar party. Hold on, I'll answer that in 1 second. But he was in really bad financial shape. He got the death penalty. The shooter got away with it. And the middle person who cooperated with the state made a deal and did his time. But it was always his defense was that they got it wrong, that the guy who cooperated with the state was really the most culpable. And eventually they reversed Robert Marshall's death sentence and gave him life with parole. So he had one parole hearing before he died in prison. So I am confused as to who they asked about the Stock the Bar party, what other witnesses, and I've never seen anyone testify. But like I said, I do not know everything there is to know about this case. I'm still learning. If anyone else knows, let me know. But the interesting thing about Robert Marshall is he constantly says that the state got it wrong and it was just a coincidence the way that he applied. He was buying life insurance on the day of his wife's murder. And he was having it, he asked the insurance salesman to come by because he didn't want to put it in the mail that they were all going on vacation. And that was very damning evidence. But little things become huge in this. Things like, did she hire a babysitter for going to the Stock the Bar party? And if she didn't, a jury could see that maybe she knew something. Did she have a habit? Did Wendy have a habit of breaking up with men by giving them a week's notice to think about it? She seems pretty decisive to me. I know she said in her police interview that she has trouble with confrontation, but she certainly didn't have any problem telling Jeffrey Lacoste that she had no feelings about any of it. Any of the things he found, he thought that a normal person would find so hurtful. And she had no problem changing the names of the kids. And I think that should she ever go on trial, they could pull up the Nancy Grace. No, maybe they couldn't with the Castigar issues. That's something that she testified to as to why she changed the kids' names. But it certainly shows that she's done everything to eliminate the Markel side, their father. She's kept her children from their paternal grandparents, barred them from seeing them. And certainly Phil Markel's victim impact statement, where he says, we were invited to our grandson's bar mitzvah. And then once Charlie was arrested, they said, Wendy called us and said she wasn't having it, which turned out to be not true. I don't think any of that's going to play well in front of a jury. Call me crazy, but I do not think. I think there's a lot of little things that could really be very damning for Wendy. It just depends on what they can use and how far-reaching they are. But they are real issues. And it'll be interesting to see what the evidence is in Donna's case. What's on Donna's phone? What is on all those electronic devices? This is funny. Murder by Maestro asks, can Wendy talk to herself and then claim that her lawyer-client privilege was interfered with? That's funny. Yeah, if she says she could represent herself, she could represent herself. Often, these kind of highly narcissistic people do. But it was really interesting that Donna was looking to talk to Wendy about her fleeing and to get advice about extradition. But we have people like Joanne Chesmard, who killed a cop in the 80s, early 80s, I believe. Could be wrong, could be the late 70s. But I believe it's the early 80s. And she broke herself out of prison with the help of some radical organizations. And is now living in Cuba and has been living there for a long, long time. Gives interviews, documentaries. And there's a certain segment of our society that sees her as a hero. So I think if you guys don't have questions, I think this might be a good. Oh, here's one. Donna, please tell Charlie how handsome he is. Is that for me? This is Colin. Oh, Charlie, you were very personable. You were wonderful on the stand. The jury, they weren't listening. They were stupid. There you go. Very handsome and personable. Isn't that amazing that Charlie Adelson and Donna both thought he was great on the stand when there were some people that thought he was together, but not believable. And like, they should have all been like, not guilty. They should have all just like in 2 hours come back even less. Not guilty verdict. Oh, I'm sorry, Irene. I hope you feel better. Wendy's next. Yeah, I think Wendy is next. But how they're going to do it is really going to be the interesting thing. Because there are issues. To put it simply, she can't be in better shape from testifying with immunity than had she taken the fifth and not testified, not answered any of those questions. But I think the people that can bring her down are Katie, and obviously we've seen Luis Rivera. Does anybody remember his testimony on the stand where Georgia Kappelman asks Luis Rivera on the stand, did you read about Dan's schedule, meaning Dan Markel's schedule, in a blog, in the Prof blog? That was the blog that Dan Markel wrote. And he goes, the blog, I don't even think he knew what a blog was. He's like, the blog was Wendy. I want to make t-shirts that just say the blog was Wendy with an I. Yeah, perfect. The truth, Wendy told us, and she was pointed out to me on the street when she was walking with her 2 kids. But look at Wendy when she denies walking on Trescott with her 2 kids. It's very vague. I don't see why I would have been. Is this a question? How can the boys be on Charlie's side when Wendy won't even look at him, let alone talk to him on the phone? Wendy appears to have disowned him. She's not treating him like an innocent victim. Good point, JM. But I think the boys, Dan Markell and Wendi Adelson's children, their 2 sons, we attached. That's the only family they've known is since they were most of their life is the Adelsons. But they will wake up. Look at the murder of Maria Marshall and what happened with those kids. The youngest, I think if you asked him now, I don't know, Robert Marshall is dead, but until Robert Marshall died, the youngest believed in his innocence, but the 2 oldest turned their backs on their father and would have nothing to do with him, went to the trial and found it very persuasive. So it's a little different to having been charged with a crime and being convicted. And these are not dumb kids. If they are, both Wendy and Dan was supposed to be a genius. Wendy's very smart. I'm sure they figured out that there's a chance, a really good chance, that Charlie might have been behind it. And it's not all just sour grapes. Beachy asks, Roberta, do you think Wendy will be arrested? And if so, when? I mean, that's anyone's guess. Of course, Dan's divorce lawyer says that the pulse on the street in Tallahassee is that she will be arrested at any moment. That and might be tried with Donna. But I can't see that. I would think that Donna would be tried first, and after Donna's trial, Wendy might be arrested with a little bit of space. I don't think anyone saw Donna's arrest coming because I don't know. We just didn't see it coming. We thought it would be a little while after Charlie's conviction. So fast. But she chose to flee, and that's what happens. So I think this might be a good time, to call it bring this episode to a close. All good things must come to an end. One more from Angela. Roberta, do you think Katie M has the keys to unlock this case? Yes, I do. I think both Katie and Rivera do. And here's what I would tell Katie. I would say, Katie, you took the Adelsons' money. You let them pay for your lawyers. They obviously directed your defense. You have a really good, and I'm going to try to make this case very soon in an episode as to how Katie's defense was directed by the Adelsons. And there's a couple key parts in her 2 trials that show that. And you didn't get a defense that really benefited you. Your lawyers were answering to the Adelsons and not to you. They were doing what was best for the Adelsons and not for you. And I would tell her to say everything. Donna and Charlie are both locked up. The money is no longer The money train has been cut off. And the only way anyone's going to think well of you is not by continuing to distance yourself from this and pretend you didn't know what was going on when it was going on, or what the money was really for, is to tell everything she knows. And I think she could really bring them down along with Luis Rivera. Two of them together could really bring Wendy down. And with whatever else is on the electronic devices, they're looking for devices that go back to 2012. Do you think Wendy will be arrested? Okay, I think I've already answered that. And anything else? Okay, I think that that's it. Yeah, this was just a quickie for today. I'm off for tomorrow. And I will see you Saturday for another new episode. So have a great night, everybody. And thanks for listening.